Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald are here with me on this Tuesday. Thank you very much to each and every one of you for deciding to join us once again. We always value your support, and if you want to join the football family, you can by hitting the subscribe button on our channel and hit the bell, and you'll get all the notifications, as well as so much more content that comes on a regular basis. We'll keep you right up to date with what's happening there. We've got the website, and if you download the app, you can watch it on your phone as well. It's got to be the longest intro ever, Ruffy, because there's so many things to highlight. And lots of people like to send us messages too. Dave Smith says, Peter, I enjoyed the chat about plastic pitches. I thoroughly agree with you. It's time to do away with them. I'm in Canada. I watch all the EPL games for little subscription money at the same time. I'm able to watch Italian, German, Belgian, Champions and Europa League football for a small subscription. Our small-minded owners in Scotland continue to prevent marketing our product in a professional manner. I'm not so sure live streaming games, especially EPL games, has been detrimental to their teams. However, our lot think that by not live streaming smaller teams' games, it will change the 366 people that attended the Stranraer game. I can only assume many Bonnyrigg fans would have been happy to pay £15 to live stream and raising extra revenue for their clubs, which is what you were saying yesterday.
Yeah, I'm only talking from our point of view. We have a lot of supporters abroad. We have supporters who can't get to a game for whatever reason, you know, and you have to cater for everybody. You just can't cater for the people who can go. Yes, you want as many season tickets as you like, but I think you've got to keep every avenue open to bring revenue into the club.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that in greater detail a little later on. We're going to talk Rangers, we'll talk Hearts, we'll look at the weekend's Premiership games that have just gone by. The predictor, Hugh sitting at the bottom at the moment, but all things can change, as Tam Cowan will vouch for. It won't if you just keep up your consistent nonsense, but we will see. We'll talk about Ron Gordon. He's been in the news over the last 24 hours as well. And we always have a little quiz question for you now, just to keep things going. And I was thinking about it when we're looking at Rangers going to take on PSV for the right to play in the Champions League group stages, and looking back over the previous winners of this magnificent tournament, I was looking at the British club's involvement in it and wondering who was the first foreign player to play for a British club in a Champions League final or European Cup final and win. Now, I'm not talking about, Scottish, English, Welsh and Irish. I've included them all in. It's the first foreign player, and we'll give you the answer out at the end of the programme. It is a good question, isn't it? Aye. Because everybody is now going back. I mean, I can see the wheels in your head going around, thinking of the teams, because you can just completely and utterly discount Celtic and Manchester United
right away
from the 60s. So you're now moving all the way up
into the 70s, into the Liverpool teams, and seeing and plenty of Irishmen, Scotsmen, and those teams, and then you're going into the 80s, and your Grobbelars and people like that, you know.
There's lots of...
Can I take not a name, can I take a guess where the player might come from?
Yeah.
Holland.
Okay, you think the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Alrighty, there you are. Ruffy's had his own guess on this, but whether he's right or not, it's up to you. Have a wee guess on it. There's lots of players who've played in Champions League finals and have a winner's medal. I wonder if you know the first man to do it, the first man to appear in one of those finals for a British club, out with the Scottish, English, Welsh and the Irish. Simple as that. Mary McCormick says, Ruffy's looking smart today. Of course. You're beginning actually to do my head in, just with your stupid golf tops, all from Dullator Golf Club.
I haven't been playing.
Are you on a deal with them, by the way? Because we're leathering you if you've done your own deal.
No, not at all. It's just that the clubhouse has very nice tops that we have had a great deal of summer weather. So why wouldn't you? Particularly when they're in the sale.
Yeah, right.
You get 15 quid.
I was just about to say, buy one get 32 free, because he's had them on all week. There's variations, all of them. But
the great thing is that the legs have been put under a kind of protection.
Yeah.
Until next summer, hopefully.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to. Thanks to Paul Martin who says Jan Molby. There was a player That was a shout. Not Jan Moby, Paul, but it's still a good shout, nevertheless. So that's our quiz question. If you can come up with the answer before the end when we give you it, well done to you. Rangers against PSV. Obviously, we're not going to spend too much time on it, and the reason for that is because, you know, by the time some people watch the programme a little later on, it'll be gone, everybody will know the score. What we are looking at is a Rangers side that at home can get a result, should fear no one.
Yeah, they shouldn't fear anybody. As we spoke about it the other day, it's a reversal of what they've been successful at. They've always been successful in the second leg. You know, they've brought something back to Ibrox. The fans have bought into it. The players have bought into it. They've been very, very successful. So it's a different approach to the game, being the first leg. Obviously, you want to win it, you know, but I'll be interested in the second leg, depending what they take there. You know, I think that'll be the interesting part of it. But Rangers have proved away from home, particularly in Europa, that they can go away from home and get results. So the wee worry for me is that I think there's 4 or 5 new players in the side now. They weren't there last year at the Europa. They weren't there at the run. They weren't there, experience and everything. And I just hope that everything goes positive and they can, you know, buy into it, because, you know, if you're a new player, you can deal with success. It's can you deal with the pressure if things aren't going well?
Yeah, 6-4 Rangers to get the win. Rangers at 6-4, PSV at 8-5, 12-5 the draw. So, you know, I feel confident they could maybe sneak it 2-1, Hugh. I don't know about yourself.
I think they can win tonight. I think the simple thing to say is I think Eindhoven will win in Eindhoven and Rangers could win it in Glasgow. It's how it adds up at the end of the day. Yeah. This is a severe test early on. You know, this is.
Will that influence your viewpoint? I mean, I know sometimes, you know, every now and then, you as you mentioned, you watch clips, you get a little flavour. You never really get a true feeling of a club in Europe unless you've regularly watched that division. Like, for example, we all bowed to the fact you watch the Bundesliga regularly. Right. Is it on the basis of we all get an insight tonight of looking at PSV to how we think it'll go? Yeah,
I think you watch 90 minutes of PSV tonight and see how they handle. They'll be under pressure tonight. Big crowd, you know, early game of the season for them.
Yep.
How will they handle it? I think
Dutch football better than Scottish football.
Well, you'd have to say yeah. You would have to say yeah. I mean, one of their middling teams has killed one of our middling teams.
That's what I was going to say to you. I mean, AZ Alkmaar are 5th. They've had a good start. They've had 2 wins to the season. There's PSV Eindhoven, there's FC20, Excelsior up there, Feyenoord as well. You think of these teams as all with a good pedigree. You've come across them before. There's 18 teams in that league as well, which I think is healthy.
I think it's made that division much healthier. I think as well, at the very top, Ajax, we know, are a class side. We know that Ajax in the last couple of years have reached, you know, the Champions League semi-final, perhaps unlucky not to reach the final itself. So I think you could be well saying that, you know, Dutch football certainly looks stronger, but again, all that can change after, you know, all that's just academic. If Rangers play and do well over 180 minutes, I would reserve judgment completely on, you know, on who would go through till I've seen tonight's first leg, because that'll give you a sense of how strong PSV are and how they react to being in the sort of Lions Den, and how Rangers react to playing a team that I think this is a step up from Union St Gladbach.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say to you, you are one of a number of people getting it in the neck. It's always good to get it early. Colak. Yeah. Because the boy can only do what he does. He scored goals, which is to his credit, and he did answer quite a number of people who were talking about being critical of him.
Yeah, I try just to work hard every day and to improve myself. Of course, every start is not easy, but I don't follow now a lot the media. It's always good to watch maybe the goals I score or the wins we reach, but all in all, I just focus on myself.
Well, if he just focuses on himself, gets on, scores goals, nobody's got anything to say against him. I thought if people are judging him after game 1 and 2, I thought it might be a bit harsh. You've got to let the boy settle in.
Yeah, I just look at it as well, though, that if you look at his past, if you look at his stats from the past, his stats of the past suggest, what I said, that he's a player who scored very well in SPFL, but might not score, goals in Europe. I think there's a question mark over that. He'll score fine against, Kilmarnock, St Johnstone's and whatever, because he's good, he's decent. Is he that step up that makes a difference in Europe? And it'll be quite interesting tonight, because what does Van Bronckhorst do tonight? He's got Kent back. He's been given little cameos to Morelos. Does he start with Morelos tonight and leave? Because let's say I got a lot of criticism for those comments, and that's fair enough. That's what we're in. We give critical comments. It's fine if the viewers give them back. But I think the test of it, I think people all know the answer to this question. If Kolak's fit and Morelos is fit, there's one place up for grabs. Who's Gio going to pick?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not picking Morelos at the moment because he's gone on record as saying he's not fit. Interestingly enough, Ruffy, people have offered their thoughts. Thomas McDougall thinks 2-0 to Rangers. 2-1 says Ryan Blue. Lots of people offering their own thoughts on how the game will end. 3-0 to Rangers, says Darren. So we wait and we will see, and we'll discuss it in greater detail tomorrow once we obviously the show starts live at 4 and it goes out later for people to watch it at their own leisure. So we're not going to dwell too much on it, just on the basis that we hope Rangers can get the result. But they have released a statement, and I think this is a reaction basically to once the closer scrutiny comes on their fans. And they've said Rangers are incredibly proud of the amazing atmosphere that our fans create at Ibrox, and supporters are encouraged to exemplify the best of our support to cheer on the team on the cusp of returning to the Champions League group stages. This game has attracted an unprecedented level of media interest and thus wider scrutiny. Please ensure that you represent our club in the correct manner and be mindful of previous incidents in Europe which led to sections of our stadium being closed. With the match being completely sold out, we are asking supporters to allow obviously extra time to travel to the stadium and get in plenty of time before kick-off. But that is a statement released by the club to try and head off at the pass morons who tarnish the club's name by singing stuff. It could be sectarian, it could be straying into other areas, but they're trying to actually alert some of the dimwits and say, listen, do not sing these songs because there is a close scrutiny once you get to this stage in the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a wise move as well. If you're seen to be telling the idiots, to behave themselves, and they don't behave themselves, at least you can counteract that by saying, look, we did our best. We've put it out there, we've told them. It could be banners, it could be singing, it could be these pyrotechnics, and you have to be on top of it all the time, because the first one, as Rangers obviously know, and Celtic know as well, first one might be 50,000 fine, 100,000, and then it escalates into some of the ground being shut. So nip it in the bud, and don't, have it gathering as they go on in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the one thing that I still think, will it ever go away? Not in my lifetime, Hugh.
Well, if it's not going to happen in your lifetime, what chance have you got? I think Rangers have, I think, reacted very quickly to, reports that fair representatives will be there tonight.
Yeah.
And Rangers know they're in the territory of, they're beyond fines now, they're in the territory of the sanction of, sections of the ground being closed, whether the Rangers go through the Champions League or drop into the Europa League. So they're quite rightly addressing this quickly today. And let's hope that it all passes like this, a raucous, aggressive and challenging atmosphere, but it's all above board.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll discuss that in greater detail tomorrow once we have a look at the 90 minutes and see how it all turns out. Of course, coming up on Thursday, huge game, massive game for Hearts. I look at the way Zurich have started their season and I'm thinking to myself, well, there's a real opportunity here, Ruffy, when you look at Zurich. I think the chairman's come out and said it's a mini crisis. He's sickened by the way that they are playing. Their form is not good. 2 draws, 3 defeats to the start of the season. They're bottom of the table. Of course, they were knocked out of the Champions League preliminaries by Karabag, and the only 2 wins they've had this season are against Linfield. So,
no, I think it's okay saying, Hearts are getting them at the right time with these kind of stats you're throwing out there, but they'll know that they're better than what our league as well, I would think.
Swiss League?
Not the Swiss League, Zurich. They've got, I mean, they're in the they were in the Champions League because they obviously won their league, or they were second in their league last year. So they've got a wee bit of quality, but I think Hearts have got them where they want them, and they've just got to go out and perform the way they have been doing this year. I was impressed with them in the second half on Saturday. They've got goal scorers in there, they've got people from midfield chipping in as well. So no, I think Hearts are at a good moment just now, and I think they are favourites for this one.
Yeah. Hugh, I think the implications that I think a number of clubs will be wary of is the fact that, apart from the great work the foundation does, the solidity with Anne Budge there, and of course with James Anderson there, you're always guaranteed a few safety nets underneath if anything should go wrong. But I think when you look at the crowds that are turning up, the season tickets, the commitment from Hearts, I look at this ticket and I think to myself, wow, £7 million could be in the kitty. They are going to leave the rest of the clubs in their slipstream if they play this right.
Absolutely. Everybody talks about being huge for Rangers tonight, and it is. But by the same token, this is season changing for Hearts. This allows Hearts will have 2 budgets at the moment, Peter. The budget without Europa League and the budget with Europa League. And within the budget for the Europa League will be the provisos that that Robbie Nielsen can invest more in his squad, etc., etc. This is literally a season changer over 3 hours of football, and they have a chance. I've only watched a bit of Zurich in clips, so I wouldn't expect myself to be an expert on it. But if you look at the stats and if you look at the way Hearts have played, a bit of solidity about Hearts at the moment. I know they were very disappointing in the first half against Ross County of all people, but they played well against Hibs. Should have won that game. Won cosily at the weekend. I think Hearts will be looking at this and saying this is winnable. I certainly think it's winnable for them.
I do. I think they could come back with a positive result from over there, Ruffy. And I think once they get them to Tynecastle, I'm going to tip them to go through into the group stages. I really hope that can happen.
Yeah, I hope they go through as well. I mean, we talk about Ibrox rocking. I think if they come back with any kind of result, Tynecastle will be rocking. It's up there. When it's. I mean, the 18,000 at the weekend there, I don't know how many they can push into that stadium, but certainly Zurich, I'll get a wee night to remember when they go to Tynecastle, because that's got the same feeling about it. You ask any player who goes there, it's very close, it's intimidating. So I think everything in Hearts' favour.
You mentioned them at the weekend, Hugh, again. I mean, they dismantled Dundee United. Dundee United clearly on a downer after that lashing, but they've got goal scorers all over the park now. I think he still wants another 2.
I think he does as well, but it's interesting to watch them, and you see when Mackay plays to what Mackay can be. Yeah. He's so good. Yeah. He's got real quality, and he can bring on people like Janelli, can score goals as well. They've got good stalwarts, throughout the team. Strong Halkett, I think, is coming into a real game. Got Gordon in goal, who's still class. Yeah, but Hearts are a strong outfit at the moment, and need to be strengthened in other areas. But certainly, without knowing too much about Zurich, as I say, I've only watched them, in clips, but their form suggests they're not in a good place. Hearts are in a good place at the moment.
Yeah. Is it fair to say, and I wonder if the two of you can offer us this, no disrespect to Thistle or anybody else.
Let's disrespect.
Well, exactly. It's the observation that I'm going to make on this, Hugh, is Celtic, Rangers and Hearts, if they get European football, if it's Champions League group stage, which we certainly hope for both clubs, and Europa League for Hearts, is that merely papering over the cracks of the standard of what we're watching throughout the league?
Yeah, and I think it reflects, it's a reflection of just who we've got. I mean, we now know that, I think correct and say Hearts will drop into Conference League. We hope they don't. Rangers would drop into the Europa League. We hope they don't. Celtic are guaranteed Champions League. So there's a European future for these teams. There's not for the others, and you can't complain about that. There's no hard luck stories here.
Yeah.
There's no what ifs and unluckiness. They were bona fide, and certainly Dundee United is a bona fide pumping, and Motherwell can have no complaints about Sligo Rovers. So yeah, it is a reflection, and where we are, in the wider perspective of Europe. I think it's something that it's going to be very, very difficult to address because European football has got more and more about money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that brings us on to Ron Gordon.
Well, I was going to say to you, because I'm going to ask Ruffy this, because it's not necessarily, and sometimes we're insular in our thinking, but it's not necessarily something that's just a problem for us, because the whole of Europe, apart from the big clubs who are financially, in real trouble, Barcelona, I can cite for that, selling the crown jewels at the moment to try and stave off their debt. But a lot of clubs are wondering, everybody's into the English Premier League. They're looking at the millions, the best managers are going, the best players are going there. And we're looking at a situation, we had a pub argument in there before we come on, which was quite simply, Ruffy, I don't think too many of the Celtic or the Rangers players, I don't think any of the Celtic or Rangers players of the moment would get into the early 2000s. I'm talking 22 years ago. I don't think any of them would get in the Celtic or Rangers side of 2000, 2001. I don't think there's one Rangers player that would get in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's Rangers side that he was in. And I certainly don't think there's one player in that Celtic lineup that would get in Martin O'Neill's 2003 team.
I never got my pint of lager when I come in.
and by the way, I would also go as far as to say I'd be hard pushed to think of maybe one or two Hearts players would get into the Hearts 85-86 side that almost won the league.
Well,
do you know what I mean? That's how far back I'm going.
Well, I'm only looking at Rangers and Celtic, and you're talking about the foreign intake. You're thinking of the quality of players they had in their teams. You're talking about internationalists. I mean, the whole of Celtic's back three were all Danish internationalists, Swedish internationalists, Belgium, internationalists. No, even the midfield were all internationalists. And up front you had, and same at Rangers, you had everybody playing with a national side. Another question I would throw out there is how many in the Rangers team and in the Celtic team are playing international football at the top level, at top countries? I'm just saying that.
Well, there's not many.
No, there's not. So there's a difference in the quality that you're talking about.
The thing about football now is that players are everywhere for a reason. In the old days they weren't. Sometimes the players were at clubs because they couldn't get out of a club. You've got one sitting here, a man who had an illustrious 3 World Cup career but played at Partick Thistle and Hibs. Nowadays that just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen, Ruffy. You'd have been away to, you'd either run down your contract or you'd have a year in your contract to go. And Man City, whoever, a big club would have come in for you and said, and no matter what we Bertie or the Thistle board said, you're off. That no longer happens. People are all at clubs for a reason. And if they don't want to be the club, they either create havoc or they say to people, well, I've got a 4-year deal. After year 2, you either deal me in for huge money, or I'm now into the situation where I'm going to be talking to other clubs.
Which is why it's critical, I think. I mean, Ron Gordon says that, I'll get your thoughts on the Sky deal in a minute, but it's critical we somehow work out ways to get more money into our game. I think sponsorship should be the key, but we can't because we're a group of, guys that are like in a pub having a fight all the time, backstabbing each other. I think it's very difficult to attract sponsors, but we need to work out ways to get it, whether it's pay-per-view or indeed the Sky deal. Do you think that's a good deal to 2029?
I think it's probably the best deal on offer, because I think the Deloitte's report, if you read it, what we've been briefed on it, is that they say that marginally Sky's the only people out there, and it's marginally poorer than it should be, but marginally is the word they used. So how do you improve that Sky deal? I think when people talk about ways forward for the game, everybody talks about generalities. We have to sell the game better. We have to promote our game. Well, give us concrete things. Let's sit down in a room and say, what can we do better? Here's things I think we could do better. We can increase the commercial heft of people going out to seek deals. They're addressing that through the Deloitte report has said you need a commercial department to go out and do. You can't get, the SPFL as it constitutes with the few bodies that's there to try and get a dedicated commercial unit that's dedicated to get deals. But in that, every club's got to buy into what's going to be agreed.
Yeah.
The second thing is, how do you get more people into grounds? Here's the thing, every game on Sky could be sold out, because every game on Sky is either Hibs Hearts out or Celtic v Rangers. Why are the games not out? Because clubs will not sell tickets to Celtic and Rangers fans. That's their right, and fans shout them, don't you do that? But don't come moaning when you're beat by Sligo Rovers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't come to me and say, if we only had 2 centre forwards and a centre half, you do the sums, an extra 5,000 fans at the 2 games against Rangers and Celtic at 25 quid a head, put it into your calculator. That buys you a couple of centre forwards. I mean, these are concrete things. There are other concrete things. Instead of people sniping at the SPFL, get your Ron Gordons, your Dave Cormacks, your Stuart Robertsons, whatever, into a committee, into a working committee and say, no, you tell us what's going to happen. Concrete, no, we must do it. What we're going to do, and then the chief executive will execute it, because that's what he's there for.
Yeah.
Now that's things to go forward with.
Yeah, do you want the Rangers side that defeated Monaco in 2000, September 2000?
Let's have it.
Well, here's the team. I just thought I'd look it up, Ruffy, just to give you an indication of where we were 22 years ago. Kloss in goal, Bert Konteman, Lorenzo Amoruso, Arthur Newman, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Alan Johnson, Ronald de Boer, Barry Ferguson, Tugai, Claudio Reyna, Michael Moles, and the bench had Fernando Rickson, Vidmar McCann, Alberts, Kanchelskis, and Billy Dodds with Charbonnier, the backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, but I would say 75% of them were all playing international football.
Yeah, and they defeated Monaco by 1-0 that night. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? That is some team, and that's 22 years ago. And now look at where we are. I mean, it's all to do. We'd love to see that kind of money, but that was some team then, Ruffy. And actually, at that point when they defeated Monaco, there was a real strong feeling. I don't know if you remember this, Hugh, but there was a real strong feeling that Rangers were going to win the Champions League that season.
Well, that's what it was all about. I mean, that's what David Murray was all about. David Murray was all about making Rangers Champions League winners. That's why, I mean, from even going back to the pre-Murray years, when we're going back to the big changes at Ibrox under David Holmes, etc. I mean, that's what it was all about. It was about chasing the Champions League. That's why you had, Terry Butcher signing, and Gary Stevens, and Trevor Stevens, and Woods the goalkeeper. I mean, you're talking about the best players in Britain.
And then moving on, you're talking Tory Andre Flo at 12 million quid.
Okay.
That's a way back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible stuff. Whether Ron Gordon and the rest of them get together and put together some kind of package, only time will tell. But Sky does seem to be the only show in town with an interest in it. I think,
is this still 29?
Yeah.
There's nothing going to happen in 7 years. There's nothing. Technology not going to move on.
There will be.
Else is going to come
I'll tell you what will happen.
7 years.
Well, I'll tell you what will happen. The Sky deal's in place, and then what will happen, it'll move and it'll evolve and it'll embrace what I call the DAZN blueprint, which is basically there'll be a situation where you're on your phone. If you're on your phone, you want to watch Rangers are playing Hibs, it's a tenner. And you can watch it on your phone. If you can't get to the game, you want to watch a game, it's a tenner. And that'll be the pay-per-view deal. And then everybody will have that access. That wall will come tumbling down shortly. And that's because the technology will demand, because the people will be there saying, listen, we're going to watch other games. If you don't want us to watch your game, we're going to go watch them elsewhere. We're going to pay that tenner on our phone. Now, you can have the tenner or you can't. It's up to you. And then, of course, hopefully more and more money comes into the game. I think that's the way it's going, Hugh. Do you?
Yeah, and I think as well, if we're sitting here now looking at 7 years to 29, the landscape of European football, I think, will have heavily changed by then. I mean, I think there'll be cross-border leagues of some sort, and I think I'm almost certain there'll be a Super League.
Yeah, same here, Hugh. I hate to be typing while you are speaking
away.
there.
I mean, the thing is, you've got to, if the bailiffs are at the door, Peter,
well,
you've not paid your poll tax, you've got to respond. As
a number of people will just find out on here, we always like to try and remind people of the need to be decent when they're putting across their points. If you're not decent, we'll ban you, and that's what we're doing on a regular basis. And some people say, well, wait a minute, you're losing the odd customer here and there, Ruffy. I'd rather have 99% decent people on there, and we can just try and rid ourselves of the 1% who delve into either sectarianism or other bits of lunacy.
That's the same about football. It's the same at games. I'm sure the majority of people would rather have the idiot 3 rows along for them than have them.
Yeah,
and one of the things about games as well was that a really good game where Ruffy was at. Ruffy wouldn't talk to me because it was outside PLZ, and he was in his kind of ambassador and director role. Yeah. So I was down with the little people.
Yes.
But I was at Partick Thistle, Queen's Park at Oakhall View. What a terrific day out that. I mean, the result was poor for this, don't get me wrong, but a great game. And what a support the old Harry Rags had up at, whole full stand, Peter.
Yeah.
Full.
Was this another game that they battered them and you can't believe it didn't work out for them?
This is it, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I've said that. I've heard it before. Look at your face. Hugh, just to get your thoughts on this, because obviously from our own point of view, we've discussed the Rangers thing. We'll talk about it in greater detail tomorrow. We hope Hearts can do it. We're looking at the money in the game. We're looking at the standard overall. Of the weekend's games, I certainly didn't see Motherwell going up to Aberdeen and winning. But of the weekend's Premiership, what was your observation of it?
I thought it just showed that, probably after Hearts from the way down, it's going to be one of these divisions anybody can beat anybody. And I know that's a cliche, but three teams that I was really kind of worried about in terms of, playoff, relegation playoffs or relegation itself. My Motherwell, who go to Pittodrie and win. St Mirren, who win. And obviously that one I was bothered with Kilmarnock, who obviously played Celtic and were cosily beaten. But it gives you an idea that there's... this is my apology for being bottom of the predictor. It's very, very difficult. I mean, Motherwell to go up and score 3 at Aberdeen.
Particularly with Aberdeen scoring the second goal, just at the start of the second half. You're a home team, whole support behind you. Go right, let's go and finish this off. And then the same old mistakes happen again.
And then again, Hibs as well. Are Hibs in bigger trouble than I thought? I mean, I thought they were lucky to get a point against Hearts, in the last minute. And the goals they lost against Livingston, I mean, dreadful.
Stevie says, Peter, could you say hello to my brother-in-law, Bill, who is recovering from an operation. So I have. Everybody's getting operations these days, Rafi, aren't they?
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how it all, once the rehab kicks in, Rafi, how I'll fare in the old tennis. I think there's going to be a different...
There's going to be a vast improvement when your leg's okay.
There you are, eh?
Look, you just had the wee resurfacing. Andy the other night beat Stan Wawrinka, a 3-time Grand Slam winner.
Absolutely.
So what's to stop you?
If I can get back into a medium t-shirt that I've got upstairs, I'll be delighted.
Good on you.
Don't hold your breath though. Anyway, so good luck to Bill. That's from Stevie and everybody here on the team. We always like to give everyone a mention along the way. So of the games, I mean, you mentioned that they're not under. I mean, is Jim Goodwin under any pressure?
Jim Goodwin under pressure all the time. Is he under pressure for his job? No. I mean, I think Cormac has. I think he's had his sort of moment of, kind of like panic and getting rid of Stephen Glass. I think he's now all in on this. He's got money in for sales, so there's a wee pot there. And I think he's got to give. Jim's got to clear the decks, so he needs 2 or 3.
Well, he has cleared. He's bought 10 players in.
Yeah, but I think he'll need further reinforcements. I think he might even go again before the end of the transfer window.
What, 1, 2, 3?
And a couple at least. And I think he'll do it again in January and look for players. I think it's got to be a rebuild at Aberdeen. I was really disappointed in the way. I mean, and I'm sure Jim will be as well, in the way that they lost goals. I mean, some of the defending was just
laughable. I know, and you know the worrying thing about it, Hugh and Ruffy, is if you get a good start to the season, suddenly the fans start thinking, well, the weather's good, I'm going to go. Aberdeen have got a great travelling support as well. Hibs and Hearts have got support that, they really get behind their team. You need that. You want that bit of momentum. I mean, even Dundee United, I thought Dundee United's support up at Tannadice for the game against AZ was absolutely fantastic.
But Aberdeen had it on Saturday. Aberdeen had a great support there. The atmosphere was good, the weather was good. But you've got to send them away with a win. You've got to have them walking out the stadium going, wow, we're at home.
If you're not playing against, like a Jota screamer or Morelos scores 2, or, you get a bit of magic for Tavernier, so what happens is like guys letting cross balls in. Yeah. A full back running towards the byline, and the ball crosses to a centre half who's sitting in the centre, sitting in the penalty spot, meditating.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's just...
They were woeful. Also, quite a few people. David Murphy says Goodwin will make Aberdeen good. By Christmas, he thinks they'll be 4th. Okay, we'll wait and see on that. Are Celtic better this season, Ruffy?
I think it's a wee bit earlier to decide. I think they've got quality on the bench, and we saw that at weekend. That if the game's done and dusted, then 5 come off and 5 go on without no hesitation whatsoever. And I have to say, Rangers are like that as well. They're not frightened to just say, right, you 5 off, and then another 5 on, and that's the quality that they've got more than anybody else. But are they better? I think it's the same. Good on the eye, watch. I think if you're a supporter and you're a season ticket holder, that's what you want to see. You want to see game played at pace. You want to see it in the latter third. You want to see spectacular goals. You want to see good passing football, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, Carol Starfelt certainly thinks they're better prepared this season.
It's pretty well even last season, even though we had a lot of injuries. But I think this season we're even better prepared. We know that. It's going to be a tough schedule with tough competition in the Champions League as well. So we will need all the players, and also we know that every season injuries will come. But now we can deal with it in a better way.
Well, I think he's managed to get through his bad patch.
I think so as well. I think he's done well for Celtic. I think he's in big games last year. He really stood up under what was perceived to be his fallibility. That is the physicality of the game. I think he stood up to it and played well. I think the strength. I think Celtic are stronger this season in terms of. You can look at every position in that team now and say there's a good backup, whether it be Ralston at right back, Welsh or Starfelt centre back, Bernabai left back. The midfield options are, like Turnbull is not a certain starter, he's an excellent player. Giacomakis can play up front, Bladdy, James Forrest. I mean, go on that bad. So there's strength. I think what they're lacking and what they'll have to get sorted, certainly for the Champions League, is they need a defensive midfield player. They need a very strong, calm, composed defensive midfield player.
Is that all you think they need?
No, because managers will always say we need more, but I think that is the priority. That is that is what they definitely have to have.
Yeah,
they've not got a chance at the top level without it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know about defensive. I always like the number 10, Ruffy.
Yeah,
I know. Honestly, you never get it. No, but they never get it. I mean, it's tough to actually go and buy a number 10. There's not a Lubomir Moravcik hanging off a tree somewhere, and he might look at another defender. Definitely needs another striker, because if he can get a Yeti out the door, Julian, and then look at some of the other periphery, he might have a little bit of money to play before that window closes. But I agree with you. the one thing that, I look at Celtic now is they've scored 10, they've conceded 1, they've won their first 3 games. Last season, obviously, they had conceded 5, scored 3, and lost to Hearts in the league, and lost to Michelin. But I still think they need to get 2 or 3 players to avoid becoming the whipping boys in that draw when it's made next week.
Yeah, that's why I agree with you a wee bit. Once you go into Europe and you're away from home and you're playing against better opposition, you need somebody to protect the back 4 or the back 3 or whatever it is. You need that because generally the midfield in these top teams do get forward, and you need a protection in there. For me, the change this year is they bought that many players in. You've got Jota, you've got Abada, you've got Giamakis. Nobody's talking about Kale going to... and he's still there. He was the main man, he was the one that was... But now they've got that many players now that he is just part of it. He's not the individual who's winning games because everybody else is chipping in.
It's a very good point, actually, Hugh. You need that variety. Giamakis offers them something different. Kyogo, as ever.
I think he's superb.
Yeah, he does put in a shift. Yeah. But we're about to see, this is the difference, Hugh, and this is where, we'll watch it and we'll debate it against PSV Eindhoven with Rangers. We'll look at Zurich against Hearts. What happens, and this is about levels, and I speak to so many players down through the years. You could be great because a player, in the midfield has got all the time in the world in the SPFL and he can lift his head and he's a great midfielder. Once you come up against better players who close you down quicker, they think quicker, they make a quick pass. The one thing that highlighted last Thursday night was when AZ Alkmaar got to the final third, they didn't take 2 touches when they wanted to get in behind Dundee United. It was bang, 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 1 touch, suddenly they're in, and the ball was in the back of the net. And Celtic, will find that out as you hit that level, and that's why I think you need to be cute and suddenly maybe unearth a wee gem or 2.
You're talking about AZ Alkmaar in the Conference League, and now we're talking about the group stages of the Champions League. That's what we're going to talk about. These guys are the best players in the world. This competition, in terms of sheer strength of quality, is better than the World Cup. There'll be players that will play at the World Cup that can't play in the Champions League, or not good enough to play in the Champions League. Yeah. So this is the top competition. So it's a bit like, when you walk away from having watched Celtic v Kilmarnock and say levels like that. Celtic are stepping up to the level of the teams will be looking at them as a team to beat.
Is Celtic going 3rd or 4th seeds?
4th pot. So you know what you're getting, Ruffy. You get 2 top drawer ones, and then the 3rd one could potentially be a nightmare as well.
Oh, aye. But you're going to get 3 teams that will expect to beat you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we'll find out next week about the calibre of the team that Celtic are going to face in the group stages. Will Rangers be there? We'll certainly get a real insight into where they're placed before they take on PSV Eindhoven in the return leg. And Hearts, we certainly hope, will be in the group stages. A couple of other things I wanted to try and get to. Thanks very much to so many of you for answering the question that we put out there. We did ask a question at the start, which was who was the first foreign player out with, of course, Scottish, English, Welsh, and I included Irish players in the question. Who was the first foreign player to play for a British club in a winning European Cup side or Champions League side? And you said it just threw it as a throwaway. It was Bruce Grobbelaar.
It was a Grobbelaar,
yeah, Zimbabwe.
84.
Yes, in the famous Shaky Legs
Roma Stadium.
Although, dare I say it, and this is an indication of what we were talking about there, Ruffy, Liverpool should have been playing Dundee United in that final.
Absolutely. And here, listen, see, this is where we go back, and you don't like to be old, the old doddery man that looks back.
Don't apologise for being old, that's coming. The woke culture are going to get you shot sooner or later.
You're talking about a Dundee United team that could beat Barcelona, that could get to European finals as they did against Gothenburg, who had players. I'm not even talking about Sturrocks, the Hegartys, the Bannons, and that. I'm talking about the John Holts.
Yeah.
John Holt, which people forget about.
Billy Kirkwood. Yeah.
John Holt and Billy Kirkwood now, you build teams around him. I mean, literally. I mean, you know yourself, it's your era, Ruffy. Yeah. The quality of players you could go along. And people say, oh, it's just sold it. Yeah, but this is a fact. These players were judged against the best of Europe and were not found wanting.
Yeah, I think it was for the benefit of a £50,000 gold watch that the referee favoured Roma in the return leg. And it's hard to believe Dundee United should have been in the European Cup final in 1984. It's just outrageous, isn't it?
It is.
They were great. What a team.
Yeah, they're a fantastic team. A quality side who all came up together, and they were all together for a long time because they were all on long contracts.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing we go back to. This is the thing we go back to. Of course, they wouldn't nowadays. You've got a player at Celtic who moves at 16 years of age, young dope, to Liverpool. Players don't. If players are wanted now, they go.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's always it's good to look back on those things because, quite simply, some people, Ruffy, actually don't believe that there was football before the Premier League in England in 1992 or indeed the Champions League. But there were some unbelievable teams that could easily hold their own now. I think some of the great players of days gone by could easily hold their own now without a shadow of doubt.
I was talking to somebody who'd played against Jackie Campbell, Ruffy's centre half, and this guy said, I really fancied myself, come up against him. He said, I played really good junior. And I said, it was Jackie Campbell was nearly 40 when he played against him in this charity match. And the guy burst out laughing. He said, you just don't realise how good these players were till you play against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this little message coming in, did Craig Johnson, remember the Australian? He didn't play in that final. It was the only foreign player was the Zimbabwean Bruce Grobbelaar. So it was a good quiz question. It's always good to get a wee question. No, you didn't spoil it, Hugh, because you just threw it away as in the back of your knowledge. Quickly, a couple other little points I want to get your thoughts on, Ruffy. Liverpool won, Crystal Palace won. It's a bad day when your new signing headbutts a player and gets sent off.
Just lost it, didn't they?
Yeah.
But I think he's been niggled it, and temperament's always a loser when you can't keep it in check. And it's ironic, once he goes, they score.
Yeah.
But I think the teams at the bottom always put up a good show early on. Early on, they're fresh. You don't know what the new players are and all that. So
I don't think Crystal Palace will be at the bottom. I think they'll be mid-table.
I watched them against Aston Villa live just before the end of the season there, and they drew one each, and they had the better of that draw. Big, strong, and tactically very good. Vieira had tactically very good, but good at set pieces. There'll be bits of quality right throughout the team as well. Zaha can play in it. And Edouard, the shining light up here as a centre forward, out of the washing. They gave him 45 minutes and against Villa and said, that's enough. Away you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Nunez gets sent off. I think Nunez is going to be a great player for Liverpool, but Klopp did actually suggest that maybe the other player, Anderson, was looking for that reaction from him.
Anderson on the floor and Darwin walking away. So that was my picture. So I asked then our guys already, and I saw only red card. Then I saw it. Yes, it is a red card. Wrong reaction in the situation. Anderson wanted that, I would say, and he got it. But he made a mistake. So of course we will talk about it, but not yet.
Apologies we couldn't hear that. A little bit low, but nevertheless, he was defending his player. I think he's going to have a word with him today and say, look, there's lots of players who are going to try and entice you into a battle. You're going to have to be clever about it. I put together a list here, Ruffy, of 4 or 5 players that have all been desperate to move from a club and have tried to really push the envelope out. Have a wee look and see. Of course, Moussa Dembele springs to mind. Pierre Van Hooijdonk at Notts Forest. Peter Odemwingie. Remember he turned up, was it at Stoke? Carlos Tevez didn't want to go on as a substitute. Tried to engineer his way out of Man City. And of course, the latest one is Cristiano Ronaldo. And I get the feeling, Ruffy, by the time that window closes, Ronaldo will be elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously we're now in hand in the dressing room, what's going on in the dressing room. A player like him walking about the dressing room, if there's 4 or 5 players showing any dissent whatsoever, it's no good for the dressing room. So, they have to work out who's the goodie and who's the baddie, and then work out a situation, what makes a dressing room a happy place. And if Ronaldo has decided he doesn't want to play there, then you just got to let him go.
Where's he go is a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Who takes him? That's a real major dilemma, I have to tell you, with regards to that. By the way, I'll just correct myself. Craig Johnson did play in that final, but he's English.
Is he? Was he born in England?
Yeah,
and went,
born in England, then went to Australia. So I stand corrected, but the first foreign player was Grobbelaar. So there you are. Thank you very much to a number of people who mentioned that there to us. Yeah, where does he go? Who's going to take Ronaldo? He's certainly not a failure, I have to say. I don't think he was a failure. I think he was in a sinking ship and he played his part, scored 28 goals. You can like him or loathe him, Hugh, but I think history will look at Ronaldo and say he was, for me, in the top 5 greatest players of all time.
I think you're right, and I think the stats back that up, Peter. And another thing that backs it up is that he was able to, you know what he did with Portugal alone. You know, the way he dragged them. I know he got injured in the final, but the way he dragged them to major honours, the way that he was a talisman there, he's had success and ridiculous success at Real Madrid.
Some of the records he's broken, Hugh, are outrageous.
Goals in the Champions League, just leaving people behind. Absolutely one of the top 5 players of all time. But he's now sitting to himself, and he's a guy that's got tremendous drive and determination. It's not about money anymore, because he's got more money left to spend. What he wants to do is further his records. So he wants to go to a team that's not only played in the Champions League, but can win the Champions League. That leaves, what,
I think
4 teams?
Well,
5 teams?
I think somebody in Italy might take a bite.
Well, Juventus would be the one that he could go back to, but he's PSG say they don't want him, and you can see why. Barcelona can't. Real Madrid won't take him back.
Atletico won't take him.
Atletico can't take him because of the fans, and
Chelsea.
Bayern Munich have said that they don't want him.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Who knows? Who
knows? It's a strange one. Anyway, it just shows you how the time has moved on and the players who wanted out for various reasons. Well, Pierre Van Hooijdonk was the absolute...
classic.
I mean, I felt for the boy, the manager at the time.
Frank Clark, was it?
No, the London boy.
Dean Bassett,
yeah. Dave Bassett. He just looked and thought, my God, what have I got here?
But no, I'm looking at the Leicester situation now, which is really interesting, Peter. We've got this Wesley Fofana, and Chelsea have said, right, 50 million for him. He can go to Chelsea. He's young, 21, I think he is. And Leicester say, well, you can't go. We're not selling you. That's only going to end one way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same with the boy at Everton, Gordon, that Chelsea are trying to get. Thanks to so many people. Steve McNeil says Ronaldo swap deal with a Yeti. One who can score for fun, another one who really, to be honest
with you. Back to the two, is this the end of an era now? Have they given us everything they've got?
Well, yes.
Another 2 have to step up.
But who's stepping up? Is Haaland's not going to?
I'm not there yet.
Haaland's not going to be the generation of Ronaldo and Messi.
In terms of the way they could play, no, he's going to be.
Maybe a goal scorer.
He's going to be like a Müller. He's going to be like a Uwe Seeler. He's going to be like a Shearer. He's going to be one of these great number 9s, a Lewandowski.
Yeah.
But these kind of guys who had that magical genius, no, I don't. He's not going to quite get to that level, But
in the last 20 years, kids who have grown up, who've been at primary school and high school, who've collected the stickers, and have done what we all did when we were schoolboys, and they buy their Match Attack stickers and everything. It's been a joy. It's been a joy to witness 2 players. I mean, this is the first time in 17 years.
Each pushing each other's on.
Messi hasn't been in the Ballon d'Or list. I can't believe it. I'm looking at the list. Courtois, Leao of AC Milan, Nkunku of Leipzig, Salah, Kimmich of Bayern, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Vinicius Junior of Real Madrid, Bernardo Silva, Luis Diaz at Porto and Liverpool, Lewandowski, Mahrez, Casemiro, Sung Heung-min from Tottenham, Fabinho, Benzema, Mike Maignan from AC Milan, Kane, Nunez, Foden, Mane, Haller, Modric, Rudiger, Ronaldo, De Bruyne, Vajovic, Van Dijk, Cancelo, Mbappe and Haaland. No Messi for the first time, and basically because he was forced to join a club that he didn't want to play for.
Yeah, the two that spring out to me are De Bruyne and Benzema. Would be in my top 6.
Yeah, Benzema will win it, well, surely.
Think so.
You know?
I think so. I mean, I think just the way he's come again, and it's interesting because we were talking about the great Rangers teams, and you can remember that Peter, in 2007, 2008, watching Benzema for the first time, and he's still playing. He's still playing at the very top level, scoring goals, technically adept. But to go back to Ronaldo and Messi, they were just a step above all this.
Yeah.
In all my life, there's been one greatest player in the world you can't argue with. When I was brought up, it was Pele. Then it'd be Cruyff.
Yep.
Then it'd be Maradona. They were just players that,
They just did a generational thing, wasn't it?
They're just players, you couldn't argue against them. But this was a dynamic.
Yeah.
And it caused huge ructions and arguments. But significantly, I think, pushed them on against each other, in that matter of creating records and wanting to do. And see, you're talking about swan songs. The World Cup might be an interesting swan song, because I don't think, both these guys are Supermen, but I don't think in 4 years' time they're going to be about,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see what they do in this tournament.
Especially, now that Messi's broke his duck and he's won a Confederation Cup with Argentina, can he take the next step and drag them to another World Cup the way that Maradona once did?
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, but just like Messi to Argentina to win it, and it is, and he goes down as the greatest ever.
Well, but that's what's pushing these guys on, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. A great line from Gallant, who says, "I remember Benzema at Lyon, so do I. I was watching him against Rangers, and I thought to myself, this guy is a machine, razor sharp, quick, great skill. He was just outrageous." Yeah, I think if you've always been able to say you've seen these players, and to say, Ruffy, and to say, as we're about to finish, that you and I have been sitting in the Nou Camp watching Messi dismantle Celtic. It was just a joy to watch, wasn't it?
It was one of the nights you had to appreciate every member of that team.
Yeah.
They were just, the full-backs were magnificent, centre-halves were unbelievable, the midfield was just something else, and then you've got Messi and Kieran Tierney going to no stand on my side, going to go away on the other side.
And do you know the funny thing is, Hugh, do you remember an argument where people were questioning he was walking about? Do you remember that situation? People were questioning, does he do enough work? He just walks about for times, and you're thinking, seriously?
I think that they did, though, come a time where he needed a fresh challenge. I know PSG wasn't the challenge he needed, but I felt his head was going down the last season at Barcelona. I mean, he's part of the Barcelona team that lost 8-2. Yeah. Messi doesn't want to be involved in that.
No, exactly. Listen, I love talking about football, great players, great teams. God, we look back and we mentioned that team of Rangers from 2000, 2001. How many Rangers players would get in that side? It's a great pub argument. Let's get Ruffy a pint, see if we can continue it, because he missed out in the first one between Hugh and myself. Hopefully you'll join us regularly, Monday to Friday. We're on at 4 o'clock live. If not, share it with your friends. You can watch it at your leisure on our YouTube channel. There's going to be competitions coming up. We're going to be giving away some fabulous prizes, as well as some unique one-to-one interviews and lots of things happening on our TikTok, as well as covering lots of games across Scottish football and beyond. It's all coming up in PLZ Soccer, so tell your friends. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking football stories. It's as simple as that. Hope you enjoyed the chat today. Fingers crossed we're talking in a positive light about Scottish clubs tomorrow. Hugh, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin, would like to thank you for watching us. Thank you. Have a great night.